time won't be increasing? Don't know. If only we could stop time so we could play all of the games. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this now so I can get ready for bed. And again, I thank everybody for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again throughout the week, and eventually on Saturday, where I'll be playing You Don't Know Jack with the usual gang of funsters, and hopefully some new ones. Now, as for my backlog, see, that's the problem, Seagullus. I have an ever-increasing backlog, and I will explain how that is before I go. And to do that, I need to switch over to my desktop, which will take a moment once I can find a remote that controls it. Aha! Now, I have to warn you, there's going to be a slight graphical glitch. I apologize for this. There's nothing I can do about that. By the way, I made this myself. There is a website called weavesilk.org, and it's a iOS application. But there is a version of it where you can just draw silk on the browser. Yeah, just type in new.weavesilk.org, and you can make a background kind of like this, or much different. I've been experimenting, and now my dad has been experimenting with this. Anyway, where is it? Been meaning to demonstrate how this is done for a while now, and I think now's about as good a time as any to show how exactly I do pick these random games. I have a specialized program. It's Gawk based. I think it's Gawk. Yeah, it's a Gawk based. And what it does is that it randomizes from an entire text file that's about 1.5 megabytes. Oh, pardon me. And there's tons and tons and tons of entries for video games. Each of them from early consoles such as the Atari 2600, and it goes all the way up to recent stuff like the Game Boy Advance. I am considering adding the DS library to this list, but I'm not quite sure. I would like to keep my cutoff list to like the early 2000s. But I do have a couple of Dreamcast games in there and a couple of PS2 games in my library that I wouldn't mind playing someday. But I don't know if I'm going to include them in this fishbowl that I've set up. Over the past year, I've been talking about this virtual fishbowl that I was putting together. And that's essentially what this is. I just type in this random sev gibberish, and I can conjure up a random game anytime I want from this collection. And every time I finish it, I delete it from the database and then put the finished game in a pile, indicating that, yes, I have indeed finished it. Now, for example, I have just conjured up a game for the Amstrad CPC, which is a British computer. It's the British equivalent of the Commodore 64, only not as graphical. Just found a game called Dash. Now I repeat it, and I will get a different game. In this case, The Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy for the NES, which was an unlicensed game. Nintendo Game Boy, Aretha 2, which is a Japanese game. There may or may not be a translated version of the game. If there is, awesome. Because mostly the people that watch this are English-speaking people. Not a lot of them can read Japanese, which is a shame because I would like to have a Japanese reader alongside me so I can actually play some of these games. And tell if they're RPGs or not, because I try not to play RPGs. They take way too long to knock out in a day. Crazy Cars. Never heard of that one, but it is a DOS game. Mega Aton, which is an arcade title. The Sands of Mars for the Apple II. Now, usually what I do is I draw about 6 to 8 titles at a time and try to organize them in a fashion to where I'll play like the simplest ones first and then work my way up to what might be a more well-known title, because the well-known titles, they tend to be a little more involving. Monster Zero. I'm going to guess it's a Godzilla game. I could be wrong, though. Also, I did not know that there was a version of Frogger 2 for the Atari 2600. I know there was one for the 5200. And especially the Commodore, which I originally played Frogger 2, which is a fun game. It takes the concept of Frogger, but adds a couple more settings to where you can warp to and find yourself with a couple more places for your frog to call home, so to speak. Oh God! Some of you may remember seeing me playing Impossible Mission 2025 on the stream. Jeez, God, that was horrifying. The controls were god awful, and I think it crashed once or twice. Time Machine for the Commodore 64. Never heard of that one. And the Sea Battle for the Game Boy. But yeah, that's just a small demonstration. I can draw games all night long, but that doesn't make it so. I'm going to eventually play them when I draw them out of the Fishbowl. But right now I'm going to deal with my backlog of what I have drawn. And I have one more on the list, and I will be playing it probably tomorrow, maybe Friday, don't know.